I mean, I know we'd probably come on to it, Sim, but I'd be interested to get your boys' views on Werner and seeing what you guys think of that particular signing. Because again, that was out of the blue, wasn't it, Sim?
Completely. Look, nice segue into what was going to be our next topic. But Lee, looking ahead there, Timo Werner, proper pro. Look, Timo Werner was, the most exciting thing about Timo Werner. Obviously, I think he's an exciting player, pacing, whatever. Just to have a deal completely out of the blue that no one knew anything about and was instantly basically agreed before anyone even got a sniff of it. That was like one of the most genuinely exciting things about that deal. We haven't had that in years. Because, you got Romano tweeting every little element of every single deal. Every deal was going to happen. But to have someone just completely out of the blue was brilliant. But in terms of the Werner deal itself, I'll just give my opinion. I'll ask the guys. I do think it's a smart bit of business. I do think he's a player who Andrew really like, especially from a pressing point of view. I think if I can imagine a front three of Son, Werner, Johnson causing opposition defenders a lot of trouble when it comes to how pacey they are and how little time he's going to give opposition players on the ball. If I'm looking completely on a profile of player, I think was a perfect fit for what we needed. If I'm being honest, I don't think he was it just because as a profile of a left winger, I think we needed someone who's very good at dribbling and has a high chance creation. He's not that guy. But if I'm looking at a guy who can fill in on the left, who can fill in up front, I do think up front, I definitely think he profiles definitely correctly. I did think we were probably in need of a left winger more, but he can do a job there. And I think he's definitely a guy who's got the right personality, in terms of the right character to fit in with the team. He's got a point to prove in terms of getting into the Euros. He's shown it before in top leagues. He can perform at a high level consistently. He did it for 4 years for Leipzig, very consistently banging goals. I know he didn't go right for him at Chelsea, but even at Chelsea, I don't think it's any coincidence that they won the Champions League while he was there. He was a big part of that run. He was a big part of that team. And his presence does cause problems. Even when he's not scoring, he's a tactical weapon you can use, even when he's off form, because of his attributes. So I think from those points of view, it works for how we want to play. And I think financially, it makes complete sense. Why risk spending big money on a striker in January when there's a very small market? There's limited options. You always have to hike your prices in January as well when you're signing attackers. And look, all our attackers are, I know Son's away, but Richarlison is scoring. Kulusevski has got 5 goals. Johnson's getting assists at the moment. Son's obviously got 12 goals. He's doing really well. So when he comes back, hopefully he'll be firing again. So I don't think, as much as I want an attacker, I don't think there's this massive need that everyone's saying we have to get an attacker in for big money right now. I think a smart move like that, and then in the summer we can reassess it. But and look, if he signs, we can get him for cheap. If not, we can then go for a big money signing that maybe better suit. Well, we'll have more options in the summer of who to sign. But Ricky, talk to me about Timo Werner, because one that completely came out of the blue. It's not one that anyone had on their radar, but it's one that people are slowly coming around to, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I said on Sky, for me, it's, potentially, it's very low risk with a massive high ceiling and high potential on the basis that it's a player that we're not paying an actual fee for. We're, like I say, essentially covering the wages until the end of the season with a nominal, I would say, fee. If Spurs do want to get him on a perm, 15.5 million, that's the reported fee. And I think the key thing above all here is that, look, Ange wanted the player. And when you look back at the last few years, we've had a situation where there's been club signings forced upon managers who they've directly come out and said, I didn't want that player. No disrespect, Jed Spence was not wanted by the manager, nor, of course, was Arnold Danjuma. So the key thing for me about the windows that we've got now is that the manager is being backed and given exactly what he wants. And I think we all agree, given the start that Ange Postecoglou has made as Spurs head coach, this man absolutely deserves to be given the players that he wants. And that further enhances the case that when you look at the summer business Spurs did and the profile of players, that has been really, really key. And the one thing I will say is that with the journeys that we've had on last week on Spurs so far, of course, since January of the start of the year, the one consistent thing they've always said about Werner is he's a really good guy in the dressing room. And I don't think we can underestimate that, because ultimately we all know what happens when you've got a couple of bad, I don't know to be disrespectful, but bad eggs around the place that aren't all pulling in the same direction. That really, really has a drastic effect on your dressing room.
Isn't Dombele coming back, Rick?
Don't start him on
Perfect, mate. He's eating them all.
He got man of the match last game. He got man of the match.
Keep it to the end of the season. Keep it to the end of the season. You know, can I just say one thing? I want to challenge one thing. You look at his actual record, even at Chelsea, it was still, you know, a goal conversion rate or an assist rate, one every 3 games. You know, if he does it at Tottenham, I don't think we'd be too disappointed. You know, Sonny will be coming back. We've got obviously Decky as well that will be playing. Brennan Johnson, I think Brennan is a player that is, for me, still very, very raw. And ultimately, again, with game time, he'll get that obviously experience to be playing in what I believe to be a much higher club that he's going to have time to adjust to. But I just think the Werner signing, to me, is an absolute no-brainer. He scored goals wherever he's been. He loves scoring at Spurs. Let's hope that's a good omen when it comes to playing opposition at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And I think, can I be honest with you, the one piece of advice I'd say, he, for me, similar to Richie, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, they're confidence players, right? So they really, really need the crowd to be behind him. So my only message would be to the fans, wonderful viewers and listeners to We Are Tottenham TV, and those that listen to Last One on Spurs and watched Last One on Spurs as well, is that these players need our backing. So when we're in that stadium, I want to hear Werner on the dance floor. I want to be behind the players from minute one, and also the away fans as well, because you don't realise how much the away fans and the home fans really drive those players on. The players mean it. When they say, you are the 12th man, we are the 12th man. You saw during lockdown when it meant not having fans at the ground, not having fans in the stadium. It had a drastic impact. So I would say to every fan, every viewer, every listener out there, do not diminish or think how important your support is for those players when they go on that field. It is absolutely massive. Get behind the players, get behind Ange, because I tell you what, I think we're all getting really excited, and why not?
Definitely, but just to touch on Werner quickly about his position. Obviously, while Son's away, we do expect him obviously to predominantly play on the left. But when Son does return from the Asia Cup, where do you reckon most of his minutes are going to come? Do you reckon you'll see more centrally or more on the left-hand side?
Yeah, I think. Sorry.
Go.
Yeah, no. Obviously, he is a central striker. That's what he fancies himself as. If you specifically look at his obviously Leipzig pre-Chelsea career, obviously you gun him through the center. His pace-wise, when Son isn't here, like you've got to have him up that wing, and then when Sonny comes back, then I think how we got to look at this next 6 months as a free hit on Werner. It's an amazing signing because I think his potential. He's never reached his ceiling. Like that was a burst at Leipzig. So I think Ange loves a player who's like got something to prove. He's got so much to prove. Now you don't want the opposite to happen. That what we want is like he sees the pressure again. I think exactly what Ricky's saying. We have to help Ange put the arm around. But I think one of the coolest things about Werner is as soon as the news broke, apart from my 10 minutes of going, what the, apart from crazy. I immediately, I've got loads of friends who are, Chelsea lifers, and we always banter all the time. But I hit them up straight away saying, "Oh my God, Werner," and they were bummed. They weren't like, "Oh, what are you doing?" They were all like, "Oh, man, I totally love Turbo Timo," and Rory Jennings was going on about how he became a cult guy, and the thing that really I loved was Rory Jennings going, "Oh, he was the worst player ever. I hate him," because you know that he's you know what I mean? So I'm really excited about it, but I think what we've got to see it as is that he's not fully our player yet, but it's like, let's see him get on the pitch, let's see him score a couple of goals. I personally think that he'll get more goals than Richie for this season, and then I think it's a case of when then we have a big decision in the summer. Huge decision on whether we bring in like a marquee striker or we roll with, if Richie is still in good form and you've got Werner firing. If we get Werner firing, look at that deal. Look at that deal. That deal added. What was the final fee for Dragusin? What was it?
Dragusin, I think 30 million euros, including add-ons, I think.
Yep. And then 15 to 20 for Timo. This is insane deals that we're doing now. The age, okay, Timo's 27. I still think 27 is pretty much your prime. We can get him his prime. We've got such a player. So there's nothing but positivities there. I think as a fan base, Rick's right. We have to see the potential. If we can help, we are the 12th man. The clubs die if they don't have that 12th man. At our stadium, we need to get behind all the players, no matter if they make a mistake. If they make a mistake, then we sing for them. Not just waiting for them to do something good. We sing to pick them up when they're down as well as when they're flying, you know?
Definitely. Yeah. So, yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think, I do think the fans are going to be behind him. And I think as well, the extra element of him, failing at Chelsea is going to add a bit more spice to the deal when it comes to fans being on side. But just back to the point, Ricky, where do you see him playing predominantly? Do you reckon out on the left, or do you think, he's going to be a central striker predominantly?
I think he will probably play centrally whilst Sonny's obviously away for obviously South Korea in the internal tournament there with the Asia Cup. But you know what, Sim, I'll be honest with you, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we'll be interchanging through the game. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, I think the beauty of this player is his flexibility, his adaptability. And again, don't underestimate the fact that is why he's here. Ange loves players that are versatile. You've seen him use Emerson Royale as a left back, as a centre back, as a right back. And don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here saying that Emerson Royale is Spurs' greatest ever player, or he's, arguably a player that we can't afford to let go of. But Ange loves players that are adaptable, willing to work for the team. And I'll say it back to what I said earlier. From all the reports, he's a really, really good lad. I know people laugh when I hear Roy Keane say that. He's a really, really good lad. But he is a great lad in the dressing room. He'll bring a lot of banter, a lot of fun, a lot of energy, a lot of passion. And you know what, Sim, as well? He brings a winning mentality. Go and look at what that guy has won. He's won wherever he's been. He's a Champions League winner at Chelsea, which does make me laugh a little bit. Chelsea writing the guy off. He won a Champions League there. Chelsea would have to be back in the Champions League. They don't even bloody win a Champions League the way they're playing at the moment. So I think, generally at the moment, I think we've all got to get... We've all got to get behind a player. I think it's, for me, a no-brainer. When you consider what you were going to pay in this market and just how hard it is to get strikers. Everyone knows January is such a hard market. And don't also underestimate the fact, from my understanding, he had an opportunity to go to Manchester United and wasn't interested. He only wanted Ange. He only wanted Tottenham, which again re-emphasises the fact players are picking Spurs now because they can see something happening, and it's bloody brilliant.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And as well, the fact that we got this deal, the Werner deal, done so early, and gives off the impression that we had a strategy going into this window that we're executing. When Ricky brought up the Danjuma deal, before, it's important to know that was done really late on the window. He was on his way to Everton, and we kind of just scrambled together a deal and kind of got over the line. And in Conte even admitted that this wasn't a deal that he wanted. That didn't come off as something else strategic and planned. It just came off as something we were doing on a whim to try and appease the fans, kind of thing. Doing this kind of deal early definitely suggests to me that we've really gone out and looked at Werner and thought, you know what, I think this is a really smart move, and we're going to get this over the line as quickly as possible because he can really help us. But for you, Lee, if things don't go right with Werner and he does continue his poor form that he's been going through over the last couple of years, is there any kind of, do you think all of a sudden the hierarchy might start getting some backlash in terms of should we have pushed the belt out for a striker that that could, because you look at the position we're in, as you say, 6 points off the top, a lot of people saying we've got an opportunity here to do something big. We're not been in this position for a long time, this close to the top of the league, in January. Now's the time to really push the boat out and have a go in the transfer market. I think people are in general being positive about Werner, but if things do kind of go awry, is there any sort of have we been cheapskates here? Could we have done something different in terms of this deal?
Yeah, I see what you mean. And I think there's always going to be that, Sim, to be honest, hence the Louis Saha, Ryan Nielsen comments earlier in the show.
Exactly.
I think that the actual deal for Werner, as you've all said, I think it is a no-brainer, to be fair. I said on our show last week on Spurs in the week that, is he coming in? Some people will go, we sold our best ever striker and we got in a Werner. But we all know, let's be fair, Werner isn't a Kane replacement. We all know that's not the case. And I do agree, Brain said it earlier, I think his biggest quality, it's going to sound a bit stupid, it's not necessarily his goal scoring, it's actually his press. His press is a joke. His press is a joke. If you go and watch some of the clips of Werner, he always pressed. But what was happening in Chelsea is that they weren't a pressing team under Thomas Tuchel too much. So therefore, he's doing the press on his own. Whereas actually in this team, as soon as you get Madders back as well, by the way, just quickly, we've totally missed Madders' press. is Madders' creativity and everything else, but the press is ridiculous. So when you get Madders back in pressing, you've got Werner in the team that's pressing, you've got Richie firing all cylinders now, he's got his back sorted out and whatever, and then Son to come back in. I don't see Brennan Johnson pressing too much at the moment. Then you've got Kulusevski's an ox. No one can get the ball off him. I mean, it's mega exciting, isn't it? Let's be honest about it.
Yeah.
We don't even talk about the defence anymore. We don't need to. So the actual deal for Werner is a good one because it is a no risk, right? If he flops and he scores, he scored 1 goal in every 5.6 games for Chelsea in the Premier League. Okay, so if he plays the next 18 games, he might score 4 goals if we're lucky and get a couple of assists. It's not bad. It's not a bad return. He's going to be in and out. He's not going to be starting the whole time. Are we expecting him to get 15 goals this season? Probably not, but he might do. And I think that's we don't know. And actually under the right system, with the right manager, with the right environment, he has got the ability to do that, as Brains alluded to earlier, right? So I think it is a bit of a no-brainer on that side. What I would say is, one of the key reasons why we're not going for an absolute elite striker is because Harry Kane's.
Oh, he's just making a point and then crashed, did he?
Unic haven't cut the feed, have they?
I was like,
let the people know why are we not going for a top striker? I need to know why we're not going for a top striker.
Tell you what, leave a classic EastEnders moment there.
Look, while we wait for Lee to come back, let's get through some super chats that have been sent to us. So we first got Brian Daigle saying, "What a great day! Big up to Lee and Ricky. What a magnificent day! I believe Ange Postecoglou holds the key to world peace." Wow, yeah, that's what we need. We need Ange Postecoglou to get in all the negotiations for all the conflicts. That's what we need.
That's not like Daigle to say a big inflammatory statement.
No, surely not. Dark Sun G says, "Come on, you Spurs. Remember our centre-backs used to be Dyer, Sanchez, Toby and Rodon and Tanganga. And our right-backs used to be Aurier and Doherty. Now our centre-backs are Van de Ven, Cuti Romero, Dragusin, Royale, Davis, and our right-backs are Porro and Emerson." Yeah, I mean, look, definitely we've upgraded our defence 100% over the last year, and I think that's. I have to say, I look at our defensive options. I'm so much happier with them compared to last season. I think we've definitely levelled up massively. Dark Sun G again says, "Also, I find it amusing that we got players that were in our manager list before Ange Tuchel." In brackets, Dragusin, Ten Hag, Werner. This shows we got a better manager. Come on, you Spurs. Okay, I get what he's trying to say. Yeah. And then Dark Sun G says, "We are the only team in the Premier League doing outgoings and incomings. Also, we got rid of Spence, Lloris, and maybe Dyer, to which is massive. February will be huge when Son, Sarr, and Bissouma return." Yeah, it's 100% right. We're the ones really making moves in the window, aren't we, compared to our anyone in our rivals at the moment in the Premier League? So, got to commend Spurs for getting things moving very early, because clearly it's very difficult in January compared to the business everyone else is doing.
Sim, so sorry for dropping out again. Can you
It's
hear
all
me?
right. Yeah, we can hear you. We're all wondering why we're not going for an elite striker. We're all sitting here
What's
wondering.
happened to
Lee.
Harry Kane? What's happened to Harry Kane?
It's like an EastEnders moment. The reason why we're not going for a league striker, and you can bookmark this, all the viewers and all the fans of We Are Tottenham TV, is because Harry Kane's going to come back. We own Bayern Munich now, so Harry Kane's going to come back. League striker. He's going to do 2 seasons, and then he'll be back at Tottenham Hotspur. So to break that record and he can jump on the bandwagon of
Lee. No disrespect. Make sure he leaves Eric Dyer there. Yeah, don't bring him back.
No, he won't come back. Just Kane.
So selling Harry Kane was a smokescreen for buying Harry Kane. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. That's how it works.
Listen, this is the kind of intel that you have to pay for, right? What unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Inside knowledge there from Lee. Look, who knows? I'm begging for Bayern to win the Champions League just so Kane can get that monkey off his back, and maybe he's thinking, look what Andrew's doing at Spurs. That's the only place to be, surely. Maybe he'll start feeling that. But look, in terms of, obviously, look, we got Werner and Dragusin through the door now. We've still got 20 days till the end of the window. There's reports from the Times and other places saying that Tottenham is still looking to bring a central midfielder through the door before the end of the window. Ricky, do you think our business is done here? Do you think we're done with incomings? Or do you still have a sneaky feeling there's more to come?
Sim, I'm on really uncharted territory here. We've signed 2 players in the 9th of January asking me if our business still can be more can be done. I'm like, my brain is fried. I'm already at this point going mental. I'm throwing all my toys out the pram, going, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. You know what? It's a mad window so far, and I wouldn't put it past Spurs. And given the start Ange has made, it looks very, very clear. I mean, I don't mean to any disrespect. Those that go to Spurs, every other week, they'll see Pierre Højbjerg when he comes on, does give his everything. I know many might feel giving his everything maybe now is not enough in terms of the level that Spurs are looking for. He's clearly not an Ange Postecoglou player, and I think many that obviously stay around after the games at full time do see Pierre really the first one down the tunnel after games. And look, I don't say he's got to be out on the pitch. We know it's a nightclub. You haven't got to stay out there all night. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I just think if Spurs got the opportunity to have an alternate to Pierre that is a better suited player for the squad, and by all accounts, that looks like it's going to be Conor Gallagher, then I'd be all for that. The only thing I would say, and Lee has been consistent on this in the last one on Spurs, is that Conor Gallagher, I mean, I was going to say Chelsea are one step in a final, but they're actually not at the moment. They've got quite a lot of work to do in that semi-final against Borough. He is the Chelsea captain. He's a standing captain for Reece James. Obviously, Chelsea are going to be looking for a huge, huge fee, but we don't know how severe their FFP issues are. So what I think will be interesting is, towards the close of the window, how desperate are Chelsea to get rid of him? How desperate are Spurs to sign him? And I would think if Spurs can't get him this window, I think they probably wait until the summer if that's the man that Ange wants. I was told in confidence that in terms of what his list was in the summer, Conor Gallagher was really, really high up on there. He likes a player of an engine. He likes a player that is going to give his absolute all on the field. He's obviously, again, ticks that premium being homegrown as well, which I think, again, is a really attractive common grounding for Ange. He likes to work with British players. And that's no disrespect because, again, he's brought a lot of, obviously, foreign players and they've done really well so far. But I think he sees Conor Gallagher as a really proper midfield enforcer that'll be happy to be part of a squad, that can be versatile, that can be adaptable. And that's why I think on Conor Gallagher, I wouldn't rule that out at all. Like you said, 20 days or so left of the window, anything can happen. Keep your eyes peeled.
Do you agree with that, Lee? Do you think is Conor Gallagher the only other maybe option? Maybe there's one from left field we haven't heard from yet that maybe could be in the running. But does it also depend on Højbjerg leaving, or is there any other position you think maybe outside of the box we could be going for in this window?
Yeah, I mean, who knows this window now, Sim? It's all up in the air. I still can't believe it. Like, wake me up. I agree with every word Rich just said on Conor Gallagher. We have had some information around, with Charlie yesterday on the show. He talked about, that he confirmed that Spurs are keen on Gallagher, but he did say that it was going to be dependent on somebody going out the door. We actually focused our conversation, didn't we, Rick, yesterday, around Højbjerg, as you just brought up, Sim. So, there was a huge amount of interest in Højbjerg, wasn't there, from Atletico Madrid in the summer? I think they put a loan offer, if my memory serves me right. We wanted a straight sell. Obviously, the Fulham situation collapsed because Paulinho and all this sort of stuff. So, I've had a man crush on Pierre-Emile Højbjerg since he joined the club. I quite like the bloke, to be honest. I don't think he's done anything wrong. I just don't think he's part of that system now. That's obvious. That's quite obvious. He obviously knows that. The team know that. All the fans know that. But actually, when he comes on, when he starts the games under Ange Ball, he's been bad, in my opinion. He's actually come on to shore things up. He's done all right. I mean, he had a hand in the pass going forward to Richarlison that went back to Lascelles, so that flicked over the top for Son to score the Bournemouth second. He had an absolute brilliant pass in the Sheffield United winner through Decky. Again, if my memory serves me right. Yeah. I mean, who can forget? I think you boys were there. Sim and Ben, your brother was probably there as well, in the stadium in Marseille, right? I don't know, Brains, if you were there. When Pierre scored,
that was the big moment on the show.
Oh no, we were in the studio. Yeah, we knocked over. We covered the studio with beer. Yeah.
Oh, did you? I mean, what's a finish? So he's got it in his locker. And look, I'm not advocating to keep Pierre per se, but I think I think you've said this on the show before, Sim, that he should command a decent fee. Certainly last summer, he had 2 years left on his contract. So you'd probably be looking at around 40 million euros for him, maybe 35 million euros, something like that, maybe 30 million quid. But actually now, 18 months left, you're probably looking at around a 25 million euro type mark. And as Charlie eloquently put the other day, yesterday, teams in Europe just don't have that money to spend on a Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, 25 million euros. So we either do a loan deal or we don't. My only worry with Pierre is that it goes down the same route as the Eric Dyers, the same route as even the Christian Eriksen's, the same route as, everyone else, the Ndombele's, where you can't get them off the books. They just want to stay here. They just want to be here. And actually, in a year's left on his contract, he might as well go, do you know what? I've got a year left on my contract, 28 years old. I can go wherever I want, get a massive payout at the end of next year. So we might end up keeping him around. And that might end up hampering, sorry for the long answer, Sim, but that might end up hampering whether or not we get in another midfielder. And whether or not we get a left field in, somebody like a Sarr, when Sarr came into and he went back out on loan, everyone was kind of like, yeah, he might have potential, but what's the kind of point? We're looking at this young guy, I think, from Blackburn Rovers. He might be a similar scenario like that, where actually...
I'm sorry, Lee, he looks too much like Eric Dyer's brother. Avoid.
He does look like Dyer. Yeah. But it could be another Sarr situation, couldn't it?
Move on.
Yeah. It could be another Sarr situation.
He might be a really good player, to be fair. He might be a really good player.
Dougie's probably one of my favourite. I mean, it's so hard not to love this whole team today as we talk. It was so easy to hate most of the team, wasn't it, under previous managers, certainly over the last 5 years. But Dougie is one of my favourite players in the team. And he done the same thing, bought early, went back out on loan, come back in. So I don't know if there's a left field sim, but, what excites me, I just don't think the Conor Gallagher deal can happen because of Chelsea, because he's a captain, because he's one of their own, because he might pick up a trophy, blah, 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 blah. But if Rick's right on that financial fair play situation, and they do have to get rid of their homegrowns to I think there's 2 homegrowns that they've got left, because that's what they sold off, haven't they? That's what they've sold off all their homegrown players to make this rebuild. And actually, let's be fair about it. Their central midfield options, they're not light. When everyone comes back, isn't Lavia? Is it Lavia? Isn't he?
Lavia, Caicedo, Enzo.
Caicedo. I mean, they're not short of midfielders here, are they? So actually, they could turn around and say, look, 50 million for Conor Gallagher because he's English and there's always a premium on English players, etc. It's selling it to Spurs, but ultimately we get out of our financial fair play scenario and Ange gets the man that he wants. So who knows? We've just had, this Wednesday's just happened. So who knows what happened? I would say about it is I don't think we're going to make another signing in January, like a first team signing, if you like, until the deadline. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll be saying opportunistic, maybe deadline day, but I can't see Pierre-Emile Højbjerg leaving before we've got a replacement in, and I can't see anybody coming in until the deadline day, because that's just the way that transfer feels. See what I'm coming from, Sim?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think Gallagher's realistic. I don't think he wants to come. I really don't think Gallagher wants to come to Spurs. I think he's desperate to stay at Chelsea. I think it's going to be more about Chelsea forcing him out than anything. And is that a situation where Tottenham are going to want to commit funds to a player who doesn't really want to come? I don't know if that's... I feel like it's a situation where I know Chelsea might be forced to sell, but unless Gallagher feels disrespected from Chelsea forcing him out, I just feel like he wants to stay there. That's his team. It's his boyhood club. He's captain there. I just feel like he does want to... I don't think he wants to make the move to Tottenham as much as exciting project. I think he wants to stay at Chelsea if all being equal. I think go on, Ricky. What are you going to say?
Well, I think I want to say it, Sim, is that, look, in my opinion, Spurs would not be chasing up a player that has not shown them any direct interest, right? There wouldn't be a reason that Spurs have courted him in the summer and then subsequently again in January if there's definitively no interest in the player joining the football club, right? And I think it's all very well. Look, I know, again, he's a homegrown boy, he played for Chelsea, but Chelsea aren't the same club that they were, 4 or 5 years ago when they're winning everything. I think we can all see it's a project. It's going to take its time under Maurizio. And again, look, he's a headline of that team. There's no doubt about it. He's the captain at the moment. But all I would say is that Spurs would not be chasing that player up if there is not a reason to do so. That's the only thing I would say. That's why I say keep an eye on it.
That's a fair point. Look, I think, I agree with that.